Maryland football still needs more in the portal.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you guys for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. And if you're a new customer, just bet $5 and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Maryland football still needs more in the transfer portal. I'm really excited about the current portal gets by Mike Loxley and the staff, and I think we're doing a really good job so far with rebuilding this Maryland football roster from last year. And I really do. I love a lot of different players we have. I love a lot of the talent that we're bringing in, and I love the talent that we're retaining. Like, I love the kid Amari Jackson, the corner. I love getting Preston Howard back from Auburn and getting LaVon Johnson back. I love a couple of running backs we're bringing in. Like, I really like a lot of different things that we've gotten in the portal, especially the four defensive linemen that we have, and then the offensive lineman, the Talik Lockett kid as well. But I'm still sitting here thinking we still need more in the portal for Maryland football. And I'm looking at a couple positions in particular that Maryland football still needs to get players in the portal, and I still don't really feel comfortable about. I think number one's receiver. I like the receivers that we brought in. I think they're good. They're going to be solid, but I'm not convinced they're going to be like receiver ones, like a receiver twos. I think they more might be like threes for us. Like, I don't know exactly what these guys are going to be, and I could be wrong, but we get the kid Chris Durr from Wyoming, Chris Durr Jr. from Wyoming, who I think is going to be a solid player. Last year he had 469 yards, 45 receptions for Wyoming. Like, that's solid at Wyoming. It's definitely good year for him. And if he did that at Maryland, I'd be like, I'd be more than happy. But at the same time, how much will that translate? He's a pretty small kid. Will he regress some? Like, is that having the ability to be kind of a receiver 2, receiver 3, or something like that for Maryland football? And then Naheem Abdul had a really big year as well, 51 receptions, 667 yards, 6 touchdowns. So two guys that, and Raheem came from ODU, two guys that you feel comfortable about adding and you feel pretty good about them being solid. But I'm not convinced that with as much as Maryland throws the football and how this roster is constructed, and having Malik Washington, sophomore year Malik Washington, given he was had a year to learn, we know he can sling the rock around, and we know Maryland football. We know how this goes. No matter who our quarterback is, we throw the ball a lot. We do. And receiver's been one of the places that we've had a lot of confidence in. And we lost Octavian Smith, we lost Shalik Knotts, and we lost Jaleel Farouk. We basically lost everyone in our receiving room for Maryland football that had a basic impact. It looks like Caleb Webb's coming back. Zymer Smith, the freshman from last year, was talented, was a 4-star, but he's small as well. I'm just wondering, do we have enough talent in the receiving room for us to feel good about kind of what we're doing on the offensive side of the ball? Because I'm not convinced right now. I feel like we've had guys that are clear, like kind of big body types. Like, I feel like we've had larger receivers a lot of the time, but right now, a lot of these guys are just kind of small. Like, Chris Durr Jr. is only 5'10", Naheem's only 6 feet. And then the guys that we're bringing back, I know Caleb Webb has some decent size, but Zymer Smith is really small. And before, I feel like in the past years, like Ty Felton was always a pretty tall kid. He was always about like 6'2". Jaleel Farouk and Shalik Knotts both went what? Like, Jaleel was probably like 6'1", 6'2". Shalik Knotts was probably like 6'3", 6'4". We always had kind of bigger guy receivers when you kind of look back at it. Not necessarily like our whole entire roster, but we've always had like different receiving types where you looked at it and you were like, okay, you feel pretty good about the different types of bodies. Right now, I feel like we're running a little bit small at the receiver position. And that gets tricky because it's like, I don't know who's going to be able to play the outside and play it well. And so I think Maryland needs to add like a developed, coming from like a Big 10, SEC, Big 12, ACC type of receiver. And I don't know exactly who would be able to get, but somebody that has some size, but also has some production. I'm not asking for a guy that got 1,000 yards last year, but I think it would be big to get someone that has good size, good length, because right now I just don't feel like we have a ton of outside receivers that can play. And I could be wrong, but I just think we need another body in that room. And then if you get someone else, I think you feel pretty good about what you're having in the receiving room. But we know how this thing goes. Maryland football is going to throw the ball so many times a game. If we want to trust Malik Washington, then it's just what it is. We have to add someone else in that spot. And I think the other position group, I feel, and these are two offensive position groups that I still feel like we need in the transfer portal, is offensive line. I feel better about it 100%. I feel pretty good about some of the action that we have coming back on the offensive line, and then also adding in the Telly Lockett kid who can fit right in at guard, and it was one of the higher rated guards in Group of 5 football. I'm excited about him, and I think he's going to be good, but there's still like kind of holes, and I'm not sure about the depth pieces. Like right now, my best guess is you have Latrell Perry at left tackle. I'm confused on Isaiah Wright if he's able to have another year or not, but if he's gone, then you're Latrell Perry at left tackle. You're going to need a left guard. Michael Hershey at center, you feel pretty good about. Alou Bao went to LSU, so you're going, and I think that's where Telly Lockett comes into play. And then you're also going to still need a right tackle. And so I think getting another tackle is huge because Alan Herron's obviously going to his draft process or whatever he's got going on. We'll see if he ends up getting drafted, but I think right now you absolutely need a starting tackle. Like I know we feel confident about some of the depth of Ryan Howerton, Amari Hills, Jalen Gilchrist, but those guys are all really more on your interior and not much on the tackle side of things. And so I think Maryland football needs a left tackle or a right tackle, or somebody that can play either side. I think that's a really big need, and that's an important part of the offensive line. Is either tackle spot is obviously really important, especially again for how much we throw the ball. The tackle spot is going to be important, and so that's a glaring weakness that I see. I know the kid Carlos Moore transferred in last year, plays tackle, but I'm just not convinced that he's the guy that we want to see starting, to be completely honest, and like 100% want some competition. Maybe if he ends up being better than what I think, so be it. But I think you definitely need some competition on that offensive line, because I feel like the guard spot we have covered. Like you would think either Howerton, Gilchrist, Amari Hills, one of those guys is going to fit in at one of those open guard spots. And then Talik Lockett, I expect to start, but that tackle spot is glaring, that right tackle spot. And if we get those two position groups on the offense side of the ball, I feel pretty good where Maryland is going with things. And I feel like we have decent things going on in the future, and we're on the right path. But I think right now we definitely need to get those ads, because I just think we're a little bit shallow at those two position groups. Where on the defense side of the ball, I feel pretty good. Like before I was saying the defensive line, but it's pretty much been answered. Getting those two kids from Washington, those two twins I talked about yesterday. Check out that episode if you want to hear about that. And then we also got Levon Johnson back as well. And we got the kid from UCF to Derek LeBlanc. So I'm excited about kind of the defensive line. I think we're pretty solid there, but I still think adding a tackle on the offensive line would put us in a really good spot. And then I think a receiver or two. I don't know what we can get, but I think we're an attractive place to play receiver. We throw the ball a lot. We have different guys. I think it would be a good spot for receivers to go, but that is what I would love to see Maryland be able to do. I think that's what we need. And I would like to see that get the transfer portal, Mike Locksley, get that. And then after that, like, this feels like a pretty good football team. Like, I don't know what we're going to end up being, but it feels like a pretty good football team. Maryland basketball plays Purdue this weekend. Let's talk about the challenge that's going to be. We'll talk about that next. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is the Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel's making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's a perfect way to cap off the offseason and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. And if you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So Maryland basketball gets Purdue this weekend in a game that I absolutely expect to be a blowout. And like, let's not kid ourselves here. I don't have much of an argument for Maryland basketball, and I also think they're getting Purdue at honestly a pretty bad time. This Purdue team has lost three straight. So I think we're getting Purdue at a bad time. It is not a good time to see Purdue, just because I think they're going to be looking to get back on track, and there's probably no better place to get back on track than February 1st, Sunday at 1 p.m. against the Maryland Terrapins. Usually a time slot I'd be watching football in, but you guys know the football season is over, and Purdue just lost 67-72 to Indiana. They lost 88-82 to Illinois. They lost 69 to 67 to UCLA. Like, this team has been cold. 3 straight losses, which can absolutely happen in the Big Ten because of how much of a gauntlet it is. But they just lost 3 straight games. And to me, what does that mean? They're going to take everything out on Maryland basketball. Like, I don't think they're going to play around with us. I think they're going to try and hammer us, to be completely honest. They're 17-4 right now. They had a really good record. I thought before the season they were preseason 1. A ton of talent, to be fair, and they're better than us in every facet of the game. I'm not going to sit here and act like they're not. They're better than us in every which way you possibly can kind of cut it up. They're the better team than us, and I think what concerns me most is offensively. I just can't see us sticking with them offensively, scoring enough points with them offensively to feel good or give us an opportunity to win the game. I think that's going to be really hard to be able to do because they got some heavy hitters. Like, they might have arguably the best player in the country, Braden Smith. It feels like he's been around forever. I know most of you guys are going to know who that is, know that name if you've been following college basketball at all. The kid gets 9 and 15 every night, or 15 and 9, I should say. 15 points, 9 assists. So he's a guy and shoots 41% from the 3. Like, he's one of the best players in the country. He can score. What really is challenging is when he starts delivering a lot of passes and things like that. That's when it gets hard for Maryland or hard to stop him, is when he has both going on and when he's getting his teammates involved. I think Maryland basketball should make him more of a scorer. I know he could probably drop 25 on us if he wanted to, because he can shoot the ball really well. He has a pull-up shot. Like, he can do all those different things. But for me, when he starts getting the rest of the team involved, that's when it gets concerning for Maryland basketball. And they also have the kid, Trey Koofman-Wren. He's really good as well. And then Fletcher Lawyer, we know, shoots the ball at an exceptionally high level. Those are kind of their top 3 guys. They got the other kid, Oscar Clough, huge body. That's why I'm also concerned. I think the rebounding game is going to be is going to be scary for Maryland basketball. I don't know if we can rebound with them. The Oscar Clough kid's pretty huge. Trey Koofman-Wren is also big as well at the 4 spot. He's probably the biggest guy right now that would be playing for us at about 6'9", and he's starting at the 4. And then the kid, Oscar Clough, is pretty huge as well, about 7 feet tall. So I think it's going to be hard to match up with them like I do. They're a balanced team, a bunch of guys that can score the ball, a bunch of guys that are going to that are playing at a high level. I think it's going to be really tough to stick with them offensively, to be completely honest. And especially with that mark they're shooting at, when they shoot nearly 40% from three, they're about 38%. Like, that's when it gets challenging to play them. But I do think that they are cold right now. They are a little bit cold. They haven't been the same team. They have been the same offensive team, and they've struggled a little bit over the last couple of games. And Indiana was a really good example, had a good game plan against them. It's not like Purdue played like the worst game in the world. Like, they still shot the ball decently. They didn't shoot well from the free throw line, but that's kind of it. They shot the ball decently. Indiana just had a solid game plan against them. And I saw an Indiana team that only turned over the ball 8 times. You can't turn the ball a lot over them. They're just too good offensively. They're going to kill you guys. But I think Indiana, they just made shots and made free throws, and it kind of allowed them to be able to win. Like, they made 12 threes. They took more threes, 13 more threes than Purdue. They kind of said, we're going to try and outshoot you. And Indiana's a better shooting team than us. And the Lamar Wilkerson kid played really well. We know he's a good player. But when I kind of see how Maryland basketball can win the game, I think I go to Braden Smith and I say this. He averages almost 3 turnovers a game. He turned over the ball 4 times against Indiana. That to me, like, that's, I know we're not probably going to have that fine of a line, but if he doesn't turn the ball 4 times in that game and maybe only twice, they might win that game. Like, that's a fine line. And Trey Kaufman-Renn doesn't shoot 5 of 10 from the free throw line. They might win that game, to be completely honest. And so I think when I think about Braden Smith and I think about Maryland playing him, we know he's really good. But if you can somehow force him to turn over the ball some, I think you could be in a decent spot to be able to win this game. Or not like win this game, but not lose by 40 points, I should say. It allowed Indiana to win the game. We're not Indiana, though. But to be in a decent spot, maybe to be within – this just sounds messed up, but to be within like 18 points, maybe going into later in the game, like being within 15 points. If you can force Braden Smith to be a turnover and make him try and take over the game. They're best when he's distributing. They're best when their whole team's making plays. When Fletcher's shooting well, when Braden Smith is passing the ball well, when Oscar Clough is getting going and Trey Kaufman-Renn's getting going, like, that's when they're at their best. That's when they're really hard to beat. But when Braden Smith tries to take over, and he can do this and become an individual effort, then that's when they become more individual and they're not as good overall as a team. So I think that's something to think about with Purdue coming up this weekend. But I think it's going to be a good game. It's a good test. Do I expect us to win the game? Absolutely not. But I would love to see us keep it within 20 points, not lose by 40 like we did to Michigan State. I read an interesting article about Maryland basketball players returning. I talked about it a little bit yesterday, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about it today. My overall thoughts, I'll talk about that next. This is Mazda moving the game forward. For those who show there's more to score than what's on the screen. A guy for Maryland basketball that has really reminded us that you can raise the bar has been Pharrell Payne this year. Despite being hurt, he reminds us what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, and I know he did a ton of it. Dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and that never quit. And Pharrell Payne was a really good example of it when he was playing this year. We put that same passion into every model. Highlights make the reel. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. So I was reading this interesting article. It was about Maryland basketball players returning, and there's three guys that they mentioned in that article. One was Pharrell Payne, which makes a lot of sense, and we'll dive into a little bit more of that over the course of the year and going into the offseason if that ends up being a thing. Another was Darius Adams, which makes a lot of sense to me. I've talked about that. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And then the other was Andre Mills. And Andre Mills is interesting. I kind of go back and forth. Obviously, he's still young, so he still has eligibility remaining. He, to me, is a guy that I think there's a good chance he ends up coming back. And if he did end up coming back, I would not be mad. I think there's a couple things with Andre Mills. He has so much potential like as a player, but he's just raw. And he's one of those guys that you see and you're like, dang, really good athlete. If he just had more of a natural instinct of how to score the basketball, in like stuff like that, kind of like a more natural offensive game, he would be like, I think, a really awesome player. It's a little bit of that Deshaun Harris-Smith fine line for me where it's like, yeah, like you have potential there. You have good size. You have some good athleticism. You're really going to the defense side of the ball. You do kind of everything else well. Like you rebound at a really high level for a guard, like different things like that. But your offense holds you back a little bit. But I think he's a step above that for sure because he's shown confidence this year. And like he's shown confidence to take shots. Like he hasn't been one this year to just like not take shots or like not shoot the ball. Like he's done a really good job this year of shooting the ball, even though he's at 30% from the 3-point line and only 69% from the free throw line. He hasn't stopped. Like Deshaun Harris-Smith, you notice like the confidence got lost. I haven't noticed that this kid's confidence has gotten lost, and he's had some big games shooting the basketball. So I think it's more there, more fixable. But I think if he returned, he would be a really good depth piece. I don't think he's the star of the show or necessarily a starter. I don't know what Buzz Williams would do. I feel like Buzz Williams throws some weird, like kind of lineups and different things like that. But I do think him returning would be pretty good for Maryland basketball just because I think it's a good depth piece. And then Pharrell Payne, like mission get back Pharrell Payne. I don't know what the deal is with the eligibility just because of obviously he was out of eligibility this year, but some people think he'll be able to get a medical red shirt for this year. If he can get that, that would be humongous for Maryland basketball. Like that would be huge. And I talked about it a bit yesterday, but getting him back, like I feel like we could be a really good team next year. Like it goes from me being like, I don't know if this 2026 class can save us to me being like, oh, this team might have it next year. And with additions to the portal, we might be able to figure out how to make this thing work if Pharrell Payne was able to come back for Maryland basketball. And I think it could be like, just huge. Like it reminds me a little bit of Julian Reese coming back for his senior year to play with Derek Queen, like similar vibe with Baba coming in and Pharrell Payne potentially playing with him. Like I think that makes a lot of sense for Maryland basketball. So would love to see that. Don't know if it's actually going to end up happening, but I do think it makes a lot of sense for Maryland basketball. And then Darius Adams is a guy that I want to say I feel confident about him coming back. He's another guy, could be huge. Like I can see him averaging 16, 17 points next year. Like another off season for Darius Adams. Like he has it. He has the scoring ability. He has the shooting. I know he hasn't been efficient this year, but he's one of those guys that it's like Andre Mills, you can kind of see like he's streaky. Like the shot doesn't look great, but like he kind of gets it done. Darius Adams is one of those guys. It's like he looks smooth. Every shot looks like he's going in. He knows how to create his own shot, different things like that. And so I think those are guys that could be huge gets for Maryland basketball. If those three guys come back, it's a good foundation with 4 freshmen coming in that you feel pretty good about. I would say all of them being solid. I think that would be big for Maryland basketball. Now, I don't know how it's going to end up working out. The offseason's so far away, but I kind of want to get there. I'm kind of tired of watching the current landscape, the current team kind of go at it. So we'll see what ends up happening, but that's just kind of like where I'm at with Maryland basketball. That's just kind of how I see it. But that's all we have for today. Thank you guys just like a Locked On Terps. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you guys for listening to Locked On Terps.